Today I'm going to show you how to put together my grade 3 module 1 lesson by lesson interactive notebooks. So your students or you will need to have a notebook. You can either have a spiral or a composition. I'm going to use a composition just because I think it stays together better. Some of these, all of the pieces will fit fine in the composition. These you'll have to trim down a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to start by cutting this out. While I'm cutting, I also wanted to let you know that I'm just going to record myself putting the whole thing together because I get questions all the time about, well, how did you do that? Because sometimes my instructions aren't clear, although I really try. So I figured I'll just record myself putting it together. So you can put me on fast forward, or you can pause me. You can do whatever you need to do in order to see how I put it together. So I'm just cutting this out. I have only little scissors today because we are in the middle of moving and my stuff gets misplaced all the time because little hands borrow it and don't put it back in the right spot. Okay, so that fits. So I would put this on one page at the beginning to keep it organized. There were two, one with a little boy, one with a little girl. That just gives your students choices. I also have my glue stick. So I'm going to put my glue around the sides. And if you haven't taught your kids how to glue yet, that is always a good lesson to have. All right, I'm going to put this in the middle. So this starts my notebook, but it also starts my module 1 because when I finish module 1, I can just put another page and there's module 2 in the same notebook. All right, so that should work. It looks like this. Now, I just want to make sure it closes right. Oh, and I'll adjust this so you can see down. All right. It's kind of hard. Okay. So now I'm going to grab my page. So lesson 1 is this top part. If I was doing this with my class, I would already have lesson 1 cut in half, and these would be like on their desks. Oh, sorry. I'll figure it out eventually by the time I'm done with 5th grade. I would have these already on their desks and when they got to school, and then they could start cutting as morning work or when they got a chance, because we all know that interactive notebooks are super fun and engaging, but geez, the cutting takes forever. I also, when I did the notebooks that were by topic instead of by lesson, I would have wonderful parents who would cut them for students. So they had all the pieces cut out when we were ready to put them together. I don't think that's necessary when you're just doing 1 or 2 things per day, but you could also have it like that. Parents like it because they can do it from home, and it really does save you a lot of time. Okay, so I'm just cutting out these shapes. I would probably fast forward me right now. I wish I could fast forward me in real life. And almost done. So we have 2 foldables here, and then we also have the I can statement for the lesson that I'm going to also glue in so that kids can remember what we're doing, why we're learning this. And there is, in most cases, I have 1 I can statement per lesson. And what I did was try to look at everything and say, okay, what is the gist of what we're trying to learn here? Or if there was a lot, if it felt overwhelming, then I picked 1 thing. And some of them I have more than one I can statement too. I'm just going to mute this. All right. Good. Okay, so I'm going to open up to the next page. Oh, it's a mess already. Okay, and I'm going to put my I can statement at the top of my page. And I'm thinking that you should be able to get 2 lessons per page. All right, so I'm putting that in. All right, and now I can deal with my foldables. And you want to get your corners. That's, I've learned, is important because over time, if your corners are sticking up, it just gets worse. Okay, so I've got that. I'm going to shut that. So my two foldables in this case are, I have, it says 3 groups of 4, then I have a repeated addition sentence, and then I have a model that's been started. So I'm going to grab a pen, and I'm going to make my repeated addition match 3 groups of 4. So I have 3 groups here, and they each have 4. So 4 plus 4 plus 4, and that equals 12. And then I have 3 groups, and I would put 4 dots in each group. And so we're just, in this lesson, we are trying to show kids that multiplication and repeated addition are the same thing, and they can both be drawn with a picture. And here I have 2 groups of 5, and I'm going to have to fix this one. So what I'm going to do is pause and be right back while I fix this. And we're back. Sorry about that. All right, so I had to print out a new one of these because I caught a mistake, and that's going to happen from time to time. As many times as I look at it, I usually don't see the mistakes until I'm going through this process. And recording this process is new to me, so you're just going to have to bear with me. Okay, so this one, now the red one, is 2 groups of 5. So that's 5 plus 5 equals 10, and then 5 dots in each circle at the top. Okay, so now we have these. They are foldable, but if you have any kids in your class that you feel like can't handle the folding, just glue them right in. Don't worry about folding them and making it all cutesy. We are, sorry, the light is, I think it's because it's a really bright day anyway. Okay, so we are going to fold down to make, I am going to make this be the first one, and this is going to be what you can see, but you can fold it so this can be what you see. Either way is fine. All right, so I'm going to fold down, and the general rule here is that if it's a solid line, cut it, and if it's a dotted line, fold it. Okay. So using colored paper, the colored paper is a little bit harder to fold than the regular white paper, and the white paper is less expensive, so you are probably going to be using that in your classroom. But this is what it will look like. We'll glue down this side, and then you'll be able to pull down and see everything. So a little more fun than just plain. But like I said, if you have kids who can't handle the folding, that's totally fine. Just glue it in as it is. Really, you do you when you're making these. Which I think is frustrating from some people. They want to know, well, how do you do it? I don't do it the right way. I just do it the way that makes sense to me, which I know is not the way it makes sense to everybody. All right, so now these are going to go right underneath. Let's see. Oh, I can fit them next to each other. That's nice. So they're going to go right under my I can statement. And so good gluing. Make sure to get the corners. Put down one. Try to line it up with the lines, and then my other one. So, and in my head, the way I would use these with my class is I would probably wrap up with them, I think, or you could introduce with them. Really, to me, it depends on the lesson. There's some lessons that these activities aren't going to make any sense until they've gone through some examples with you doing Engage New York. And then there are other times where these would actually be helpful to introduce what you're doing. So, do you. Okay, so that was lesson 1. That's it. This is after your first day with the notebook. This is what it should look like. They can pull them down, fold them up, pull them down, fold them up, and they'll have all day. I got glue right there. They'll have, they sit like this in their books all night. Hopefully it gets nice and smushed. And then we can work on lesson 2. So this would be the next day. They would come in, have it ready for them. They could cut out and be ready to go. So I'm going to keep babbling along, but please, please fast forward me because this can't be interesting. Okay, cut out my learning target, and then I've got 2 pieces again. So remember, we cut on the solid lines, and we will be folding on the dotted lines. Okay, almost there. And this lesson is all about arrays, which the kids have been introduced to arrays in 2nd grade. It's one of those last standards that's tackled, so your kids might not remember, but they should have seen it before, especially if your class is, or your school is using Engage New York. So this should look familiar to them. They have used arrays to look at repeated addition up to 5 groups of 5, which is kind of funny because this first module in 3rd grade is all about multiplying up to 5. And so it really should be building on what they did in 2nd grade, and maybe just a reminder of that would help them access, where all that information is stored in the brain. Okay, one more piece. That's not too bad. Pretty quick coloring. All right, I'm going to start with this big piece. Notice that these are all folded, so I will fold those all in. Let me grab a pen. All right, so we've got 2 rows, so I'm going to fill that in with a 2. And then we have 3 in each row. To make it easier for kids to understand the order for multiplication, I would not introduce the word columns yet. And there's going to be kids who know columns, but you just say, yeah, we're just going to talk rows because it's really important for the order of factors. So 2 rows and 3 in each row. Plus, then kids don't get confused about column, row, which is it? Okay, then when we multiply, we always want to put rows first. So 2 times 3 equals 6. And you're going to have kids that argue with you and say, well, it's the same thing if it's 3 times 2. You say, no, because we have a picture. When we have a picture, there's only one way to write the multiplication sentence. All right, so we're going to do that, and then I'm going to fold these over just for fun, just to make it more fun. So like I said, if you have kids who aren't, good with the folding, don't have them fold it. Just have them glue it in as is. You could even, if you have, that kind of class or those kids, you don't even have to have them cut it. I mean, you just have them cut it out in half like that and glue it in. Totally fine. All right. So there it is. You're probably going to have some kids who are going to want to color those. That's great. Glue this side down. And I try to put instructions wherever I can. Sometimes they're on the pieces. Sometimes they're to the side. So this one says glue this side down. Write the matching multiplication fact on the other side. So the multiplication fact for this. So I have 5 rows with 3 in each row. So that's 5 times 3 equals 15. So I'm going to fold it and then write it right here. 5 times 3 equals 15. Okay, and now I'm gluing. Okay. I'm going to leave a little space just to try to keep things organized, but I do want to fit as many lessons as I can because we want to get as much in a notebook. It would be awesome if we could get all year in one notebook. We'll see. I don't know. When I did the topic by topic interactive notebooks, it would take 20 pages, maybe 30 to do all year. Yeah, so it might fit. All right, and then we've got our 2 pieces, and they will fit side by side. So here I'm just going to put the glue around the middle rectangle. Make sure I get those sides and those corners. Okay, making sure it's facing up. I'm going to Beautiful. And here. Now, if you do decide you want to use colored paper for your interactive notebooks, which is amazing. I love colored paper. I used to spend so long coloring things to make them look cute. This way I just print out colored paper. Anyway, if you're going to do this for your class, I would totally have kids switch it around so that each piece was a different color. So that this, and this would all be a different color, because I think that would look really cool. All right, so that's lesson 2. Let's close this up. Again, they will have all night to sit and get smushed together. I won't do that, that shakes the computer. And we're going to work on lesson 3. All right. That doesn't have to be my best cutting. Lesson 4 to the side. All right, lesson 3. So this one is all about the order of the factors. When I taught this the first time, 3-4 years ago, feels like a long time ago, I did not understand why the order of the factors was important. I was totally the kid in the class like, why are we learning this? But I was the teacher. And I will say that that year, my kids didn't understand this very well. And it totally is how it goes, that when I don't really understand something, no matter how hard I try to teach it, the kids don't understand it as well as when I understand it really, really well. So each year, being with the curriculum, I have learned more about why these things are so important. And I will say order of factors when you're multiplying is one of those things that makes a big difference in helping kids be comfortable using models and writing equations to solve problems, because it gives them a way to organize their thinking, if that makes sense. So if you're looking at a story problem and it says, 5 kids each had 3 lollipops, they automatically know that kids are groups, usually, almost all the time, kids are groups. And so they know, well, I need 5 groups. And then they can think about, well, what number needs to be in each group, and then they know the 3 lollipops. So it gives them entry points into solving problems, which I really like. Okay. All right. So I've got these cut out, and let's look at what we have to do. Draw a model to match the equation. So we've been given some equations here. We'll start out with 4 times 2, and it says the first factor and the second factor. So I know that 4 times 2 equals 8. Your students might not know this. Maybe you want to have them draw the model first. This middle part is just so that I had room to label first factor, second factor. Now we draw our picture. So 4 big circles and 2 dots in each circle. They kind of look like pig noses. Okay, so that's that one. And then 1 times 5 equals 5. This one, 1 big circle and 5 dots inside it. Okay, so this is what they should look like. And then I'm going to fold on the dotted lines. And again, I like to fold so that the bottom rectangle is the one that you see when it's glued in. You can fold so that the top rectangle is the one you see when it's glued in. Either way is totally fine. And of course I have to flip it so many times before I fold. I don't know why. All right. Okay, so there they are. And let's glue. I'm going to go to the next page. Oh. Glue. Corners. All right, now one thing that does happen with these interactive notebooks, and if you've done interactive notebooks before, you know, and if you haven't, well then I am just saving you some worry. They get huge. So everything you can do to flatten them, do it. Have your kids keep their interactive notebooks at the bottom of their desk under all their other books. I've seen people use like rubber bands to keep them closed because they're going to get big. All right. Okay, so this is what lesson 3 looks like. It's looking prettier with the different colors. Let's get lesson 4. So this one, one thing I really like about Engage New York is it introduces multiplication and division at the same time, which I like because when you do them separately, kids can feel overwhelmed and like division is so hard, where in reality division is just like multiplication. So I like to teach them together, and I like that Engage New York teaches them together. And I have a whole bunch of resources built around using models to learn multiplication and division. They're monthly fact books, and I designed them so that kids can do it independently. Because really, if they want to, they can count to solve it all. And it uses lots of patterns and lots of pictures so that they can work independently without help from you. Because what I find, I'm sure you find it too, is that I'll have these great resources for the kids, but then they need my help. They need to ask questions. They don't exactly understand what they're supposed to do. Sometimes they just like to talk to me. And I am trying to work with small groups who need, extra instruction. So that just doesn't work. So I have tried to come up with things that kids can do independently. Because really, learning your multiplication and division facts is just about putting in the time once you understand the process behind it. So you can get those at Teachers Pay Teachers. All right, let's look at lesson 4. So I have 8 divided by 2. I'm trying to think about why I made these flaps. I don't think there's any reason. I don't. I think it's just because it's just fun. Okay, so 8 divided by 2 equals 4, and it says make 2 equal groups. So here's an equal group that has 4, and here's an equal group that has 4. Okay, so then the next lesson, it's going to be groups of 2. Okay, I got it. So this one we're looking at equal groups for division. So 3 equal groups. I actually feel like this is a harder way to divide this way, but that's okay. So here I would again have groups of 4. So 3 group, All right. So they all need to be the same size. So why I wouldn't choose to do it this way is because it's just a lot of counting for them to do if they're not comfortable with it. So what you could do, I'll show you what you could do. Let me glue these in, and then I'll show you under the flap. And these have the dotted lines, but when it's a flap, I don't fold them. I just don't glue that part down. I'll show you what that looks like. Put this down. So I would glue on the smaller rectangle, getting those corners. I just put glue right here. And then I'm gonna have to move this one up a little bit. Okay, put a little more glue on. We're working it out. Put that up higher here so that we have room for both of our flaps. Glue that down. And we put glue on the back of the smaller rectangle. Try to get those corners. Glue that in. Perfect. Okay. So that's what it will look like. Here's how I'll show you. Under the flap is where I will put what I would really do. So 8 divided by 2 equals 4, and I need 2 equal groups. So I'm going to put 2 big circles, like here. It'd be nice if I had 2 cameras, then I could flip back and forth. Oops. Okay, we want to be gentle till that glue is really nice and dry. Okay. And then I would make tally marks and count till I got to 8. So 1 circle, the other circle. I'm at 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then I would see, oh, okay, I have 4 in each group. I'll hold it up and show you. So I had 2 circles, and then I put tally marks in it, counting up. I gotta re-glue this part until I got to 8. Okay, we're back. Sorry, this video is so long that it's just, I'm gonna have interruptions. Kids I need to talk to, husbands I need to talk to. All right, so just a reminder where we were. So we had just filled out our 2 circles and did tally marks. And then here we have our 3 circles and did tally marks. So I don't know that that was what I was intending when I made those flaps, but I think it works because, like I said, that's how I would do it. Okay, sorry again about the light. All right, so we're going to close this up. And I'm going to put my coffee cup on it so that it can smush while we're working on our next lesson, lesson 5. Okay. Right, so like I said, so the last lesson was all about putting it in equal groups, and this lesson is about groups of a number, which is actually the best way when you have a whole bunch of like of these, where you say, okay, it's groups of 5, so I circle 5 in one group, then circle 5 in one group. It's much easier. And I used the exact same numbers and the exact same pictures because I want kids to see that when you divide, the order doesn't matter, which I think is important to give them flexibility. Sometimes when kids are learning math, they don't know what is important and what isn't, and they can spend a lot of time focusing on unimportant details. And so what I try to do is give them as many examples as I can to help them start to understand what's important about this problem solving. Okay, almost done. I'm a pretty fast cutter and still this is boring. I'm sure you all have students who could spend all day cutting this out. All right. Oh, I got a little message. Okay. Almost done. So when you guys are wondering why it takes me so long to come out with these books, hopefully this is giving you a little idea of what it takes. Usually the making it part is the quickest part. Like coming up with the ideas, that's the quickest part. And then having to format it on the computer and then check it. And then the making it takes a long time. Okay. What did I do with there it is. My lesson. Oh, you know what? I'm going to fill these out first, just because I feel like that's easier. So make groups of 3. So I'm going to circle, well, here's 3 airplanes. That can be a group. Here's 3 airplanes. That can be a group. Here's 3 airplanes. Here's 3 airplanes. And so I have 4 groups. So I'm not going to use the back of the underside of the flap in this case. And here I'm making groups of 2. And look, they're already all arranged for me. So I can go like this. I don't have to. I like to let kids know that too all the time. I'm doing it this way. You don't have to do it this way. Because math isn't about following steps, memorizing, do this, then do this, then do this. That's the way I was taught math, and it took me a really long time to understand math and to enjoy it. I was in high school before I felt confident about my mathematical abilities. So I don't want kids to feel that way. I want them to feel confident and that math is solving problems, thinking about what I know to figure out what I don't know, which I like. I really, really like that. Problem solving. I love problem solving. I think all kids love problem solving. Any parent of toddlers know they love problem solving. When you put something you don't want them to have up high and they make a tower to climb up and get it. So we are natural problem solvers. But then we get to math and we think, oh no, we have to follow the exact rules. So, okay, here is an example of, I'm only going to be able to fit one lesson on this page because my next piece has big pieces as well. And that's okay. I just want to fit as many lessons as I can on a page. And if it's one, it's one. That's cool. I'm going to put my coffee cup back on. Smush, smush, smush. That should be what you tell your kids. Also, I was thinking that with these interactive notebooks, it's such a good opportunity to teach kids to be careful cutters, careful gluers, and careful organizers, because I know that's something that some kids can struggle with. And if you are messy with your interactive notebook, it's just going to be a mess, and they're not going to use it to look back at information, and so what's the point? So it's going to be hard for some of them, but you really need to stay on them and make sure that the folding is correct, or don't fold at all, and the writing is neat and small, so that the interactive notebooks really do become something that they can flip through and find what they were having trouble with. I dropped it under the table. All right, got it. And so I'm almost done cutting these out. So while I'm cutting, I'll look here. Oh, so now we're using an array to solve a division equation. So that'll be fun. Remember, they have used arrays in second grade, and they've been introduced to division now. So we're taking what they already know about and introducing something new, which is fun. This one takes a while to cut. Also, if you're getting bored watching me do this, in your download, you will have a set, you'll have pages of pictures of my final product. Now, the hard thing about that you can't see in the pictures is how I got there. But it might also be faster for you if you wanted to just look there instead. Okay, let's see. So this time I don't have an array. I need to draw an array. They've given me the equation, 15 divided by 3. So, and it shows me, I was just thinking, well, how am I going to know how many rows to have? It has assigned me 3 rows. So I have 3 rows, 1, 2, 3. If I didn't know that 15 divided by 3 equals 5, I could find it out by adding to each row one at a time. So I'm at 3, and I'll write that down. 4, 5, 6, write that down. 7, 8, 9, write that down. 10, 11, 12, write that down. 13, 14, 15, write that down. Okay? So that's one way that you can solve if you don't know the answer. So I have now 5 in each row, so 15 divided by 3 equals 5, and I have 5 in each row. And I'm going to fold down the sides of these, just for fun, because interactive means folding. And sorting. We've done a lot of folding so far, but we haven't done sorting yet, but we will. It comes up. I love sorting. So good for the brain. Your brain loves to sort. Okay, so I've got that folded up. Now we have one more foldable. And this one shows an array, and then it has 2 different division equations that we can look at, because the order for multiplication matters, the order for division doesn't matter. Okay, so if I have 8 divided by 4, well, that's 2. If I have 8 divided by 2, that's 4. And I can see that because if I have 8 divided into groups of 2, well, that's 4 groups or 4 rows. And if I have 8 divided by into groups of 4, well, that's 2 groups. Okay? And then I can fold these up just for fun, just because we like folding. Again, you don't have to. All right. Paper scraps everywhere. I'm sure that you have seen those cute little buckets on Pinterest. Let me just see. Nope, won't fit. Where each table has their own little bucket for paper scraps, and they put everything there, and then one person can go empty it in the recycling bin when you're done for the day. Those are good. I have used those. I'd say it helps a little. Really, you just need to train your class well. All right, and this goes this way, so I'm just going to put glue on the middle rectangle. Right here. Perfect. And then this one, I'll put glue on the middle rectangle. Get those corners. All right. Okay, so it should look like this. All right, that is it for lesson 6. Lesson 7. Oh, new color. Yay. Okay, lesson 7. And obviously a paper cutter would be better than little tiny scissors. Okay, so this one is all about skip counting on an array, which is funny, I just did that when I was drawing the array. This is one of those things that it's going to be really helpful for some kids, and it's going to be such a pain for some kids. And so what I would recommend is introducing this as a strategy, but not requiring anyone to do it. I would say if I had any complaint about the Engage New York or Eureka Math program, is that they teach a bunch of strategies, which I love, but then they require students to use a specific strategy to solve problems. And what if it's not that student's jam? Well, then it's just harder for them. Whereas they could solve the problem, a different way and get the right answer, and that's totally fine. So I feel like that maybe it just isn't explained that well that kids can use any method. I don't know. Like introduce them all, yeah, definitely. Especially if a kid is struggling, it's always nice to have, here's another option to try. But don't make them do it. Okay, so here notice it had solid lines, so I made each of these little flappies. I have 2 more to do. And the way I choose how many foldables to have in each lesson is how many will fit based on what I think is a good way to introduce it. Sometimes I'll only pick one just because I think that's all that's necessary. But in this case, we're doing the same skill 3 times, and that's okay because we have room for it. I am looking at the clock because I do have little girls who will be coming home from school very soon. So we're going to have to stop, and then once everyone's home from school, I don't get to do this anymore. So I will be wearing different clothes the next time you see me. All right. Maybe we'll do one more lesson after this, and then we'll pause for the day. Okay. So, back to our page, and we're going to glue down our I can statement. Get my corners. right, now I have my pieces. I'm going to set this aside for right now. And so what I'm going to do is write the skip counting on these flaps. So in my first row, I have 4. I have 4 more. That would be 8 in my second row. Well, total. Then 12, then 16, then 20. So I'm skip counting. Kids can count by ones if they need to, or if they're good skip counters, they can do that as well. Here, I have 3, then 6, then 9, then 12. Oh no, they're not all going to fit. That is annoying. And then I have 2, 4, 6. Okay. So it looks like only 2 will fit in my notebook. And so I'm going to throw the third one away. You might be using a bigger notebook and so it will fit. Maybe you were better about partitioning and you have room. That's cool. So if this was my class right now, I'd be like, oh, we got some good practice. Throw that one away or recycle it. Okay, so this one is going bye-bye. So this is one way it's helpful to watch this video, because then you're going to look at my sample pages and say, well, where did the third one go? And then you have someone who watched the video, they'll say, oh, she threw it away. Okay, put this on to be smushed, and we'll cut up lesson 8. Okay, this lesson, looks like we've got arrays again. I can draw models to show, oh, the commutative property of multiplication. Great. So hopefully this is going to be an easy lesson for your kids. The name commutative property can get a little bit overwhelming to them, but the principle is easy for them, I have found. So sometimes it's just, the name sounds big and scary. Kind of wish this was like a old-fashioned cooking show where you see them put something in the oven and they say, okay, that needs to cook for 30 minutes, and then they take it out and it's all cooked. I could say, okay, now cut these up, and then I say, ta-da, they're all cut. But that would be even more time for me. And I know you guys want me to hurry up and finish. So just so you know, I've got these done for all of 3rd grade. And 2nd grade, I'm on module 2. And then after 2nd, I'll probably do 4th. And then I'll do 1st. And then I'll do 5th. Okay. But of course, this is June of 2017. So you might be watching this much later. And they're all done, which is exciting. Of course, by then I'll have figured out another way to update them. Okay. All right, let's look at our foldables. I'll grab this one with the arrays drawn on it first. Write 2 equations to match the arrays. Okay, the first array shows 2 times 3 equals 6. The second array shows 3 times 2 equals 6. So I get the same answer, just my factors are changed because the picture has changed. Now in this one, I have 2 equations and I need to make the arrays to match. So on the left, it says draw an array to match the top equation. So I have 4 rows of 3. That equals a total of 12. And then over here I have 3 rows of 4. And that equals 12. So it looks like this. Okay, now I can fold. They're not exactly, I can't accordion them. So what am I going to do? Oh, I'll go like this. And then like this. Okay, so I'll fold both sides down so it makes like a stand-up thing. And then when I glue this down, no, that was wrong. I gotta fold this one like this. Okay. So don't fold it like that. Fold it like this. And then I'll put glue on this square right here. And then I'll be able to go like that. Okay. Now I just have to remember what I did. You may ask, well, why didn't you just make them all equal? Because I wanted you to have as much room for the arrays as possible. So that's why I did it like this. Okay, so now I have my two pieces that I'm going to glue in. Let's see if they will fit next to each other. Getting the corners. Put as far over as I can. And they will fit. Good. So that saves us some space. All right. Okay, I'm gonna smush this overnight because I've got kids coming home from school and I need to clean up. And I will see you soon in different clothes and we will work on lesson 9. All right, have a good day.